is case number 349743. Appearances, please.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Fran Fine, bar number 25, present on behalf of Christopher Horodesky, who's present with me in court today.
All right, you may be seated.
Good afternoon, Leslie Cohen, bar number 6605, with the defendant who is also present.
Okay, this is on a status check to see how things went. Ms. Cohen, you received a copy of the supplement that was filed.
Yesterday. Served on her yesterday. It was served on her yesterday because
Late. Yesterday.
I had to have all the facts before I could submit it, Judge.
I don't think you have the facts.
I read it at 1:30 today. Do you want to address the court in terms of present issues?
Yes, I do. Where's the medical? Get the medical out. Your Honor, counsel's making it look like my client and her family are trying to prevent visitation. That's not the case. Let's look at the timeline. We were here on December 6th. Wednesday, December 7th, there was a visitation at McDonald's. Okay? That was that. Mr. Johnson made that visitation happen. On Friday, December 9th, Mr. Johnson did orientation at Open Arms. He actually did it before Chris even did his visitation, which was Saturday, December 10th. Sunday, Chandra from Open Arms told Mr. Johnson that she couldn't set up a visitation because she was still confused about what the orders were. So she wanted to talk to us, both the attorneys. She did speak to both of us. But by Tuesday, my client still hadn't heard from Chandra, so she went ahead and called, and Chandra confirmed a visitation for Wednesday. So that's Wednesday the 14th. The visitation happens. All right? Mr. Johnson leaves that visitation thinking that Monday is all set up already, that there's supposed to be a visitation on Monday. Thursday, December 15th, the child is ill. He actually had started to be ill a couple days before, and we've got the medical records to prove that he was at the doctor's, and he was at the doctor on the 15th with an upper respiratory infection and pharyngitis, and I'll show the records to counsel, and then we can show them to you, showing that this was a very sick little boy.
I'm not taking them today. If you had them, you could have given them to me like I gave you a supplement.
You gave me a supplement at almost 5 o'clock yesterday.
Your Honor, please tell her not to talk to me.
I can look at the records. Do you want to look at them or not?
That's fine with me, Judge, but why didn't they call me and tell me? Why didn't they call Chris and say he's sick?
Okay, so Your Honor.
Your turn.
So, Your Honor, Thursday, December 15th, that's when he's got the fever. He's at the doctor's. Like I said, Mr. Johnson thought the visitation was already set for the 19th. He thought it was all taken care of. Saturday the 17th, he offered an extra visitation. He jumped the gun because it was Chris's birthday. The child was still ill, and he realized after making the offer to Chris that he shouldn't have because the child wasn't feeling well and didn't want to go. But what's interesting is that we've discussed in these hearings that a visitation should be Dad and the child. Dad says, oh, it should be Dad and Cousin Riley. Okay, Mr. Johnson thinks, that shouldn't be a problem. And then it turns into Dad, Cousin Riley, Grandma, Grandpa, aunts, uncles, everyone. We've already discussed the fact that that's overwhelming for the child, and this is a child who not only is he ill at the time, but he clearly got upset when he was at Open Arms. He says at Open Arms, it's in the report, he says at Open Arms, my daddy touched me. He doesn't want to see his daddy touched him. Mr. Johnson can testify to the fact that the child was not happy at McDonald's. You've got hearsay after hearsay with counsel's emails of Mr. Horodesky saying, this is what this one said, this is what that one said, this is what this one said. Well, we've got Mr. Johnson right here. I would just, frankly, Your Honor, Mr. Johnson does have a doctor's appointment. If you are going to want to speak to him, I would ask that you speak to him sooner rather than later so that he can make it to his doctor's appointment. But, Your Honor, the bottom line is no one tried to prevent these visitations. There was a lot of confusion. Chandra was confused. There were a lot of confusions about when the dates are going to be. I spoke to her. She basically said she needs a set schedule. She said Wednesday is confirmed for the visitation. She didn't hear about, back until today from Chris about Wednesday's visitation, but Wednesday's set. So it's not that there's stonewalling on one side and the other side's just trying to do what they can do to make it happen. This is a confusing situation. Like I said, even Chandra was confused. Frankly, I spoke to her today, and I don't have a problem with you, obviously calling her, because she said she wants a set schedule, but that she gets new clients all the time, so there's some confusion there. But the visitations occurred. It's been less than 2 weeks since we were here. 2 visitations occurred. The child was sick in the meantime. Orientation occurred in the meantime. So plaintiff can say all he wants that they're stonewalling, but they're not. The truth of the matter is 2 visitations occurred, orientation occurred, and the child was sick all in less than 2 weeks since we were last here. Additionally, there was a call, and it's on the phones, that Mr. Johnson called Mr. Horodesky on Monday to try to make an extra McDonald's visitation and didn't get a return phone call.
Oh, that is.
It's Monday this week?
This week.
Yesterday.
Right.
I missed it, but it was after 8 o'clock by the time I saw it. And they don't take calls after 8 o'clock at night.
On these medical records, is the CC, does that indicate a chief complaint? I mean, I'm not sure how to read this. You know? Under the vitals?
Well, no, under vitals. I'm not sure, but I do see, if you look, I can show you where it says URI for chief complaint, upper respiratory infection, and pharyngitis. It's in the middle.
The assessment.
Right, the assessment.
Pharyngitis.
Right, so I don't think Amber's such a mastermind that she has now convinced doctors that the child's sick when he's not. But, I'm sure we'll hear that.
I can provide the breathing treatment.
You're almost 98.6, right?
Yes. Yes. What was his temp?
Did Grandma take the child in?
Grandma went back with him. I sat out front because
Grandma what?
Mom and Grandma were there.
I can't go back because I have RA and no immune system, so I get worse around sick children.
She has rheumatoid arthritis. It's not good for her to be back with all the illness. So she stays up front and Grandma went back.
I'm asking because the medical records reflect Grandma as the historian.
Right.
So I was trying to figure out. So you both went, but she's the one that went back with the child. The vitals were 99.2.
And that's after being on medication.
And that's after he had been on medication because he'd actually started to get ill previously, and Mom did home treatments, took the child in because he wasn't getting better.
Did he end up having strep throat?
No.
That's what I had when I was here the last time. I had the upper respiratory. I had the exact same diagnosis.
Okay, but you weren't a 6-year-old child.
I am not making it an excuse. I'm simply telling Your Honor. I'm simply telling you that it's a sickness and he was sick. I understand. I was trying to tell you what it was.
Ms. Kwan, what is your suggestion at this point?
My suggestion is that we keep on with the visitation. We need some specific orders. See, because part of the problem is we've got a bunch of different people in the mix about setting this up. It needs to be just between Shonda and Earl and Chris. And I understand from Shonda that Chris has said, I'm available whenever. So it really just needs to be, but it doesn't need to be, and then we throw in Amber, and then we throw in me, and then we throw in counsel. Because there's too much going back and forth and confusion. And what Shonda, she's right. We call her up. Counsel and I called Shonda, got a hold of Shonda after the hearing, and we both talked to her. But the problem is that was after a 2.5-hour hearing where we're telling her, yeah, this is what the judge wants you to do, and you need to do this, and you need to do that, and blah, 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 blah. It's daunting, and it's confusing. And frankly, I'm going to raise this now because I think we're going to need to address this as well. You know, I think Dr. Paglini is going to want a little more specific instruction as well. I think we need some specific instructions. This is what's going to happen. This is when it's going to happen. This is who's going to be involved. And I know, for instance, Earl has said to me, well, maybe my son can help with doing the visitations because if I can't make it, he can go. And I said, no, Earl, I don't think that's a good idea because we don't need any more people involved. We don't need a sixth person who's now part of scheduling. So, but I think the more specific that your orders are, the more specific this is going to happen. And I would suggest we could even call Shonda right now and say, you know, Shonda, this is the judge, and I am saying I want these visitations to happen Mondays and Wednesdays for X number of weeks. And this is, you know, and this is what I'm saying. Just so she's got a clear understanding of exactly what's happening, just so everything's set. So that's basically what I'm saying. I think we need some specifics. I also understand from my client, I've spoken to Dr. Paglini's office. Obviously, my client's spoken to Dr. Paglini's office. He raised some issue that there could be a conflict with him seeing the child and Amber. I have not discussed that with his office yet, but that might be an issue that we need to address at some point.
He won't schedule Hayden.
He won't. What my client said is that when she's called to do scheduling and that type of thing, they told her that they would not schedule Hayden.
Fine.
So that's just an issue I want you to understand because I know it's in your previous order. But yeah, I just want to see very specific orders, and the visitations will get done with specificity. And like I said, I would just also like to remind you, it was less than 2 weeks ago that we were here. It's not like this has been dragging on for months and months and 2 visitations have happened.
Oh, but it has been dragging on for months and months, Your Honor, with nothing happening. It's been dragging on since false accusations were filed in June of 2011 for the second time. So, yes, that is what sets me off, Judge. That's the straw that broke the camel's back. Your orders were specific. Your orders have been specific since day one. So were the court's orders in juvenile court. But your court's order was that the plaintiff will have visitation with the party's minor child beginning on December 7th. Each Wednesday from 5 p.m. until 8 p.m. and each Sunday from noon until 4. How much more specific does Miss Cohen and Amber need? I know I'm being dramatic. I'm really sorry, but I've never been so amazed at how someone could pound the table when their facts are totally wrong and the law is no longer on their side. Because as you saw, the visitation, the very first visitation that Earl set up went great. I have a picture from that. He's smiling. He's happy because nobody got a chance to make him feel like he was hurt and he was a victim. He was not. He was a little boy and he was getting a chance to be with his dad, and he had a great time with Earl and with his dad, and I beg you to tell me if that's not true because I know that he'll agree. That's number one. Number two, that first visit on the 7th was promising because we couldn't get into open arms, and Earl said, let's go to McDonald's. Let's start over. It was great. They spent a couple hours. Hayden played. No pressure. They sat and they talked. He had cars too. They were joking around. He went. Santa Claus was at McDonald's. He got to sit on Santa's lap. Dad got to do a video. How much fun was that? What if it had just continued on Wednesday and the following Monday and the following Wednesday and the following Monday? We would be here today going, Judge, we're on the right track. But we're not. We're not on the right track, and the games continue. It's interesting in my supplement how I had to call Leslie at 4:36, and at 4:52, 8 minutes later, Earl returns the call. Interesting. It doesn't happen, Judge. It doesn't happen like this when they're continuing to take away this child from this dad. More months, and from this family, more important. This family hasn't seen their grandson or their nephew, and they are a very close family since June. It's not fair. And this little boy is fine. He needs to see his dad, but for the defendant who is constantly trying to tell him that he's been hurt. What little boy says without even being asked, my daddy touched me. So this is what I'm asking. The orientation at 12:7, that first visit, thank you, Earl, very promising. 12:9, my client does orientation at Open Arms. I don't know when Earl did it. Then nothing. So arrange a visitation at McDonald's, trying, well, I'll be there. Then I get an email that says, from Earl that says, Hayden's too busy. Well, Hayden isn't in control of this case. Judge, you are. And I am sick and tired of this little boy being the victim of everybody. So I'm asking Your Honor today, please, change custody temporarily to the aunt and uncle or to the grandparents. Make visitation supervised with dad. Make visitation supervised with mom in open arms. Because you know what, Judge? I'm tired of it. And I would like mom held in a holding cell until dad and mom can go get Hayden and bring him here. Because otherwise, I think she'll run. But I am telling you, they are playing games with the court. I have been as patient as I can. You've known me for 30 years. You know that I don't get this dramatic often, but I am dramatic. Because I have just about had it. I've been living with this case since June, knowing that my client has been deprived. I said, just have patience, Chris. Just have patience. Just have patience, Chris. I promise you, as soon as we get before Judge Teuton, he'll make it right with you. I got her on an order short any time. She's taken the child out of school without my client's permission, without my client's knowledge. She's taken him, she continues to do this. She's taken him to 3 therapists without our knowledge. Because Nick Ponto didn't do what she wanted to do, she does something else. She has RA. Judge, she's this helpless little creature, and I told you on October 11th, I have a 911 call where she's the suspect in a domestic violence claim. And I did bring it today, and I'm happy to show you. This is unbelievable, this case. I cannot tell you how frustrating it is to see this little helpless little girl over here. But, Your Honor, I was too sick to go back. But she's perfectly capable of beating a guy up. So, if I may, and I've already provided this to counsel.
Objection. My office has repeatedly told her office that the stuff that she submitted to me, the discs are not coming through.
It's not a disc.
We are not.
It's not a disc, it's a police report. That's all it is. It's from October 13th, 2011. Suspect, Amber Johnson.
And how is that relevant?
The fact is,
That's fine. Let's save that for an evidentiary hearing.
that's fine with me, Judge, but I'm telling you something, I mean, this is, and then the next straw that broke the camel's back, and I didn't stand up, I'd appreciate it if Ms. Cohen would show me the same courtesy.
See, Ms. Cohen, you can respond to her argument.
I'd like to be able to show you the picture as long as, of Hayden at the visitation, and I would like to ask Mr. Johnson if indeed this took place at the visitation. Did this take place at the visitation room? May I show the court?
Any objection?
To a child on Santa's lap? No.
And smiling, and his father taking the picture. If he was unhappy, he certainly wouldn't be smiling.
I don't think he's smiling.
Cutest little boy ever. I don't think any of us would like being deprived of our child for almost a year. Having said that, and there's also a video. And then on his birthday, my client's birthday, Earl kindly calls my client. Kindly, he's now a victim in this. Kindly calls my client and says, let's arrange for a visitation today. He's out in Summerlin. They're in Green Valley. He gets everybody in the car. Everybody piles in, and then, oh, sorry, everybody's halfway there. Oh, sorry, can't do it. Now, no one bothered to tell me where in those notes, Judge, that I supplied in my supplement, does Miss Cohen contact me and tell me he's sick? Where does Amber or Earl call Chris and say, we can't do visitation because Hayden's sick? Do you think my client is a monster and would say, oh, bring him out in the cold anyway? Of course not. But we don't know that. So my client has to pay me money to stop what I'm doing, to do a supplement, to show the court that these people are not cooperating. They're not. Plain and simple. My client and his family are just as capable of taking Hayden to the doctor as anyone else. But I'm sure that if Hayden had gotten sick on Dad's watch, Mom would have been back before you. See? He's hurting the child. So we're not saying that about Mom at all. The court knows that illness is going around. I had it. I had it the whole time I was here the last 2 times in court. I'm well now, and I think that Hayden will be as well. I would like the court to please grant my client's family temporary custody of this little boy so that they can reunify and be together. They love each other. They care about each other. The issue is not with them. The issue is with Chris. And let's see, court's indulgence. No one, let's see. I love that Ms. Cohen says she doesn't have a problem with Your Honor calling Shonda. She shouldn't have a problem.
Are we
Quote,
going to fight about semantics now?
she shouldn't have a problem.
Let's keep the facts.
She shouldn't have a problem with it, Your Honor. It is your courtroom, and it is your decision, and I am just merely saying that my frustration level is totally, unbelievably at its limit based upon the fact that now that we're back before you, my clients waited now outside with me preparing for today, and now they're willing to do every Monday and Wednesday, even though it was already scheduled. And you got a letter from Shonda today. Let's not forget that she called Amber 7 days ago, and Amber never responded. Look at the letter you just received today.
Objection. I spoke to Shonda, and Shonda said
Excuse
that
me,
was about
hearsay.
the Monday hearing.
Received a letter.
This letter is hearsay.
The letter you have in your hand.
It's hearsay? Is the person who wrote the letter here?
Your Honor,
That's
isn't it funny?
hearsay.
She's quoting Shonda every step of the way.
Here.
The letter is on my phone.
First of all,
And
I
she
can't
has the
hear
letter.
both of you.
She has the letter. I have it on my phone because I've been here all day. This is not my first hearing today, and I wasn't able to go back to my office. So if I may have a copy of the letter, you have it upstairs, I am almost sure, because it's sent to you, not to me and not to Leslie. But if you're going to recognize the open arms report, which is also hearsay, then you'll have to be able to read the letter, which shows that Shonda called her on the 14th, and she never bothered to call her back until last night when she said 5 minutes after she got my supplement, and she said, oh, I'm ready for visitation tonight. Can we arrange it for tonight? Can we arrange it for tomorrow? Can we arrange it for Wednesday? Hello, Judge. I'm being honest with you. And I really need for you to see that letter because this manipulation has to stop, please.
Your Honor, first of all, as far as the visitation at McDonald's, I'm sure if you asked Earl, he would tell you what he's already told me, that the child didn't want to be around his dad, wanted to play with the other kids. He was happy because he was on Santa's lap. As far as my client doesn't call, doesn't do this, there's a no, and the allegations that my client removed the child from the school without his knowledge or consent, that's because, as we've gone through before, he was violating the no contact order and kept showing up at the school. As for the 3 counselors she was supposedly put the kid with, she didn't, but let's recall the child was in counseling per CPS,
Not
and
Melissa.
she chose someone off of the CPS list. Then, as far as the visitation, at the birthday visitation,
This is my pen.
was Melissa through CPS?
She was the one, because they said it had to be VOCP, so that's why he had to switch.
Okay,
But
it
there was
started-
the original one.
Okay, so
and that
she
one.
started off with counseling and then was told by the counselor that the child needed to, the counselor that CPS chose said the child needs to go to play therapy and sent her to someone else. But it all initiated with CPS saying, here's the list of people, pick someone to send this child to counseling with. As far as the visitation for the birthday, Earl's here. He can speak to himself about what happened. But again, why was the whole family piled up into the cars to go see this child who a week earlier was freaking out, not wanting to see his father? Do you think having all these people around him is going to make him want to be with his father more? As
But no, I offered that. No, she did. Is there a text? No,
I
just
can't hear you.
okay,
Write it down.
as far as the claim that this custody should be changed, Judge, you've got evidence, you've got letters from a PhD and a PsyD saying that this child was molested. It would be unimaginable to remove this child and put him with his father and his father's family with these allegations hanging over him. That's why you're doing the evaluation. You saw fit to do a psychosexual evaluation on him. You saw fit for her to do an evaluation. They've both been in contact with their doctors. These are getting started. There's no reason to change this yet. There's too much hanging in the air. There's too much. These allegations are too strong to change custody now, especially with these evaluations going forward. As far as the claim that, well, Ms. Cohen's giving you the permission to call her, you know that's not what I'm doing and that's not what I'm suggesting. You know I'm not suggesting that you don't have control of your courtroom. I'm merely saying this is what I understand. When I speak to this woman, she says she's confused. I know that there's confusion going on, but once again, and I'll reiterate this happened less than 2 weeks ago that we were in your court. And since then, the evaluations, everyone's gotten started with their evaluations. They've done their orientation at Open Arms. They started the visitation, and in the meantime, the child got sick. And I'm sorry if I didn't tell counsel the child got sick. My client's not supposed to contact him, so I'm sorry that I didn't think of that. Leave it at that.
Don't worry about it. I would like you to see the letter from Open Arms, Judge. It says, Dear Honorable Judge Teuton, on December 13th, I was contacted by Amber Johnson. December 13th, I was contacted by Amber Johnson requesting dates and times of Open Arms availability. December 13th.
Yes, and Your Honor, I can just tell you that when I spoke
Wait a minute, it's my turn. Thank you.
when I spoke to Shonda about that, she told me just today when I spoke to her that she has spoken to my client. She was only referring to the Monday visitation. And like I said, my client and Earl thought Monday was a done deal. They weren't calling Shonda because they thought Monday was already set.
What Monday? This Monday? Last night? Your Honor, you can read the letter.
Let me ask you, your client has started the psychosexual evaluation?
Yes, Your Honor, I have an email from Dr. Picoult. I've sent him all of the information, and it's Christmas, so of course he's slow. His first meeting is December 27th? 6th, I'm sorry, Monday the 26th, because he wants to get going, even though it's a holiday.
That's the first meeting is 12/26?
Yes, but he has been reading all of the material. He's been calling me and asking me if there's more and if he needs other things, and I've tried to send him what he needs, or what he's asked for. And I assume, Judge, and I want to make sure that I'm well within my right, you want him to receive the reports from Nick Ponzo, the CPS reports, everything. Is that correct?
Yeah, everything is.
Everything. And that's what's been forwarded to him, along with, I sent a copy of everything I sent to Ms. Cohen, and Ms. Cohen objected to my sending him all of that. So I'm just confirming with you that I have permission to do that.
What I objected to is Nick Ponzo's report is about Amber and his dealings with Amber and what he thinks his dealings with Amber were. Why does the person who's doing a psychosexual evaluation on the plaintiff need to know about Nick Ponzo's dealings with Amber?
So he'll know about the allegations.
It's just a way to smear Amber.
No.
It's a way to taint this professional so that he's...
Well, I'm sure that Dr. Picoult will be able to figure it out.
Again, Judge,
Okay, I'm asking the question.
oh, I'm so sorry. I'll sit down and shut up.
Ms. Cohen, your client has started with Dr. Bellini?
She's signed up. Dr. Paglini's office says he can't do anything until January. And frankly, it took me some time to get the minutes because the case is sealed, and they wanted to see an actual order. I was able to get them the minutes myself, but my client's spoken to them. I've spoken
Case
to
isn't
them.
sealed. I can't get
I'm
on.
sorry. Let me rephrase that. Because they were not married and it was filed, you can't find it. I can't find it on Odyssey.
I can.
I couldn't.
I just clicked right on it.
I
It's a
couldn't
child
find it.
custody case, not paternity.
It doesn't, there's no sealed.
No, I don't mean sealed as in the court sealed it. I mean sealed as in it was my understanding it was a custody case. I couldn't find it. I've called your office to get the minutes because I didn't realize I could get them online.
Oh, all right.
Because when I tried to find it, I can't find it.
If it's designated as a paternity complaint, it's sealed automatically.
That's my understanding that it's.
Designated as a child custody complaint, so.
I've looked it up under both names and I couldn't find it. And like I said, I had to go to your office to get the minutes or call your office to get the minutes because I couldn't get them online. So I may, I could understand I misspelled Mr. Horodesky's name, but I think I can spell Amber Johnson pretty well. And when all that came up for me, for her, were a few cases, but not, her other divorce was there, but I didn't see this case. So I'll check again, but I've checked a couple of times because I always forget which cases are sealed and which aren't.
All right, well, I'll be quite candid with both of you. My concerns are the following. There have been allegations since June, I think that was the earliest, of sexual abuse by the plaintiff. There has been no finding of such. Quite frankly, the allegations as to the conduct, the most recent one I think was the child allegedly said that the plaintiff entered his bedroom at night, asked him if he could stick something in his rectum. He said no. He proceeded to do it anyway. Those are that type of allegation is consistent with a sexual assault. It's not consistent with, I guess, a sexual predator. Someone like the gentleman at the University of Pennsylvania?
Penn State.
Penn State, thank you. His name
Horodesky.
escaped me.
I guess I watched it.
That generally entails a grooming conduct, where, and it would be natural in a situation of a parent and a child for grooming type of behavior to occur, to where the grooming overcomes any resistance. The fact that the allegations continue to be made, the fact that there are multiple experts already involved, quite candidly, the fact that the defendant felt it necessary to quit her job in part due to her physical condition, but in part to take care of her child, led me to the conclusion that there may be a possibility of Munchausen by proxy, where a parent, either one of them, either causes actual things to occur to their child or creates things that occur so that they can rescue the child from harm. That is what I wanted Dr. Polini to examine. And to do that, I felt it necessary for the defendant to be subjected to a complete psychological evaluation, and that Dr. Polini would need, as part of that, to determine if in fact there is any substance from the child concerning the allegations that have been made. Obviously, if there is substance to the allegations, then Munchausen would be ruled out. It's quite clear to me as well that whatever happened, this child needs serious counseling. His relationship with his father is not going to be estranged forever, and he is going to need to overcome that. And we're in a time period that the longer he is deprived of any contact with his father, the more difficult it is to overcome the effects of the mere absence of any contact. Now, Counselor, you're indicating that Dr. Polini is unsure of his role, or that he thinks that there may be a conflict between him actually providing services to Hayden and his evaluation of the defendant.
Right, and that's what my client understood from her conversations with his office. I didn't get that from my conversations with his office, but they hadn't reviewed the minutes yet. So I just want to make sure we have it very clear for him, because, and I didn't know if maybe you could do an actual referral sheet to him where you write out exactly what you want, so it's not anyone telling him what you want except you telling him what you want.
We're going to see if he's available.
I have his cell number if you need it.
Okay, we've got it. There's no point in yet another court hearing if he can't accomplish what I want him to. And if we need
She's scheduled for a date in January. I don't think the second
But not
Tuesday.
Hayden.
Not Hayden. She's scheduled, but not Hayden.
All right.
Second Tuesday in January.
Dr. Plini's office, this is Kelly.
Is that as loud as it gets?
Dr. Plini's office.
Hello, can you hear us?
Hello?
Hang on, they couldn't hear you.
Dr. Panini's office, Bronwyn speaking.
Hi, can you hear me, ma'am?
You're an echo, but I can sort of hear you.
Okay, I'm calling from Judge Teuton's courtroom at Family Court, and we were wondering if the doctor was available.
Okay, which case is it on?
Well, this is Judge Teuton. It's not a case yet.
It's not a case.
An appointment scheduled, I think, with Amber Johnson is the person who's already contacted your office.
Okay, hold on a second.
All right.
Dr. Polini here.
Doctor, it's Judge Teuton. How are you?
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I appreciate you being available. I have Amber Johnson and her attorney, Ms. Cohen, and Christopher Horodesky and his attorney, Fran Fine, in my courtroom. And I'm trying to minimize the number of court appearances. And are you familiar at all with any of the issues in
Well, I have just the court minutes, which indicate that I think Mrs. Johnson called yesterday, and she needs a psychological evaluation, and then there may be an interview of the child. But if you want to inform me of the course dynamics, I would love to hear them.
Okay, I couldn't hear the end of it. After the interview, she informed you of a possible interview with
Your Honor, I'm having a difficult time hearing you.
Yeah, I know. I don't
Why
know.
don't you pick up? I don't.
I'm not sure if it's my hearing aids, if it's the telephone, the speakers.
Now I can hear you.
You can hear me better?
Yes, much better. Thank you, sir.
Okay, great. Well, let me tell you what I've got. I've got a, and then maybe you can give me some guidance.
Okay.
I've got a 6.5-year-old boy who has been, it's alleged that his natural father has sexually abused him. There's been 2 CPS investigations, the first of which was unsubstantiated. The second one resulted in a petition being filed, and then at the time of the evidentiary hearing, the DA's office doing a further proceedings, Dad was to take some counseling, and then the charges were dismissed. So there's been no prior finding of any sexual abuse. The child apparently is refusing for unknown reasons, and that's why I was getting you involved, to have any contact with his father. He had had contact up until June, and then there's been a no contact order in place until just about a month ago, at which time the Child Protective Service case was closed. The parties were referred to the domestic case. Mom and Dad have never been married. At one of the prior hearings, I entered the following orders, and I want to see if I can get it straight. I had ordered the dad to undergo psychosexual evaluation, and I think he's made arrangements with Dr. Picault to complete that. I had ordered the mother, Amber Johnson, to undergo an evaluation with you, and I've already informed the parties on Form U. It was based upon the seeming hostility of this child to any contact with his father, coupled with the fact that there's been 2 allegations and no finding, coupled with the fact that the mother has quit her employment. She has apparently legitimate health reasons for doing so, but it also indicated that she needed to spend more time with her son. I was concerned about possible Munchausen syndrome or something of that ilk. Now, I understand it's dangerous for attorneys to act like they're doctors, just like it's dangerous for doctors to act like they're attorneys, and that's why I had made the referral to you, Doctor. I had also tried to find, since this child has been subjected to numerous interviews, different counselors made disclosures to different individuals, I tried to get a rein on that, and I was hoping to have somebody that the court appointed actually talk to the child, not only to give the court recommendations at the conclusion of the case as to how to go about reunification with the father if that is in fact found to be appropriate, but also how to, well, I mean, basically that's it. But I also felt that an interview with the child would be necessary to determine any mental issues with either the father, and a review of the father's report from Dr. Picault, to determine any issues concerning the ongoing parenting abilities of both parents.
So let me see if I got this correct, Judge.
Sure.
So it's a psychological evaluation of mother, then a child interview or interviews to understand the case better, and then perhaps talking to the father and integrating the reports from Dr. Picault, and then to make recommendations on reunification, et cetera, et cetera.
Correct.
Okay, so it's not a, this is basically, I'm just trying to understand this, since there was 2 investigations that were inconclusive or negative, we're really working on reunification, is that correct?
Well, Mom's insistent that sexual abuse occurred. Dad's insistent that it didn't. I'm insistent on trying to establish some sort of parent-child relationship with both parties.
Okay. Okay.
And you can tell him, would you tell him that Mr. Ponzo has been involved?
I'm sorry, Ms. Fine, what?
Would you tell Dr. Pellini that Mr. Ponzo has been involved?
Well, Doctor, yeah, I guess in addition to the review, in addition to your assessment of the mom, and the review of the information from
Mr. Ponzo.
Dr. Picault, Dr. or Mr. Ponzo, it's Mr., right?
Mr.
Yeah,
Yes.
Mr.
Ponzo was involved in some reunification efforts that bore no fruit. And so there'd be that report to review as well.
Okay. All right, so the question then is, I mean, let's assume for the sake of argument, I mean, I don't know how I'm going to, hypothetically, if there's 2 investigations that indicate there was no sex abuse, although I keep an open mind, let's assume for the sake of argument that's the course that it takes. The question is number 1, is mom psychologically stable? Is there Munchausen's, or is there an alternative explanation? Such as sometimes you get concerned mothers and certain dynamics emerge. And that's what you want, kind of like an understanding on that. And then perhaps why the child's feeling the way he's feeling, because up until X amount of months ago, I guess the visitation was fine until, there was a restriction on visits. And then you want some recommendations of how to go about it from here. Is that correct, Judge?
Correct.
Okay. All right, well, I understand the case a little better now.
And the question is are those roles, is that something that you can do without any conflicts?
Yes, in the capacity that what I'm doing is I'm not doing child reunification because that would be therapy in a separate role. What I'm doing then is an assessment of this situation regarding the sex abuse allegations and regarding mom's psychological dynamics, and then trying to help the courts understand what's going on. So if it's kind of like, it's not necessarily, it's not a child custody evaluation, but it's this is, kind of like a family eval pertaining to these dynamics, which would allow me to talk to father because I need to talk to him too. But I, also integrating the reports of Mr. Ponzo and actually Mr. Packolt into the findings to kind of give clarity to courts, if I'm understanding it correctly.
Yeah, I think that is correct.
Okay, and so there wouldn't be any conflict because it's going to be kind of like an eval of these dynamics.
Correct.
And I'm not doing therapy, I'm just doing an evaluation.
Correct.
Okay, I understand it.
And you're on board? You can do that?
Well, it's a tough case. I mean,
that's why I made the referral.
I understand. Yeah, so I'll handle it, but I just need some time because January is a tough month because I have a big death penalty case at the end of the month. I'll get started on it, but I'm just saying I'm just going to need a little time.
Okay. Well, I just want to make sure that you understood the parameters because sometimes it's easier to speak it out than it is to put it in writing without there being subsequent questions.
Yeah, this is very helpful because now I'm going to dictate a note on this, and then I know what I'm looking for.
Okay, great.
Okay?
All right.
All right, so then I guess we'll have the litigants contact me, and then obviously once I get the court order, I'll make the move.
So
Correct.
my question is this. Dr. Packolt is going to work with Chris.
Right.
And so is Chris supposed to call Ms. Dr. Polini, or is Dr. Polini going to rely on Dr. Packolt?
Well, Dr. or Mr. Packolt, he's not a doctor. He's a social worker.
Okay.
That's right. That's right. He'll do a psychosexual evaluation. So your client can get started on that right away. That's not going to be a lengthy eval. And I mean, the guy, if you think about it from a risk assessment, because I do sex offender risk assessments all the time, I don't know. He's going to probably give him an ABLE, I guess, but, if he has no prior sex offenses, it's highly likely the guy's going to come back low, but maybe I'm jumping the gun on that. But I'm just letting you know, if I was doing a risk assessment, if he has no priors, you're looking for patterns, of course. So I'll wait for that report. But I can still get started on the case.
Sure.
I can still talk to the father and get a history, and same thing with the mother, and we can get moving. But I'm not going to interview the child until I have a good understanding of the history. And the mother is supposed to do a psych eval, and that's my understanding, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Good enough. I got it.
Okay, so Fran, the answer to your question is when Mr. Packolt has his reports ready, he should just forward everything he's got to Dr. Polini.
But he wants to speak to Chris, too, he said.
He what?
He wants to speak directly to Chris. That's what he said.
Yeah. Let me repeat this, Judge. How does this sound? If Dr. Packolt, if you want, Dr. Packolt can forward the report to me. I can begin the evaluation with Chris while he's doing it with Mr. Packolt, I should say. And I will, in my addendum as an exhibit, have Dr. Pack or Mr. Packolt's report in my report. The whole thing will be at the end.
So he does
That's
want
fine.
to speak to. So he does want my client to contact him.
So your client does need to contact Dr. Polini to schedule the interview.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a nice day.
I will.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, well, at least we accomplished that today. In reviewing the emails, I guess the notation that concerns me the most is that Earl had attempted, and I appreciate his good efforts to do this, he had attempted to schedule kind of like a makeup visitation because the normally scheduled visitation didn't occur. And then he was told by the mother that Hayden was too busy. At least that's what the statement in the email is.
Exactly, and Your Honor, I just would like to remind you that that's plaintiff's email to his counsel. That's not Earl saying too busy, right? We're talking about the email that Chris sent to his attorney.
I think I have the email from
Yeah,
Earl.
it's the email. It's Chris is stating, I just got off the
Right.
phone with Earl. He said he'll not be able to make tonight either. Amber told him that Hayden is too busy.
Never happened.
He's here to say that that's not what he said.
I don't know, you want to tell me what that conversation was?
Are we talking about on the 17th of his birthday? The day of his
You need to-
birthday?
No.
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 No, you need to speak louder. This was
What day are we talking about? Because
Tuesday, December 13th.
when did we talk? On the telephone?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've never ever told him that Hayden was too busy. Every time that Chris and I have spoken, it's mostly was about Sandra, okay, not being in the right mind of understanding exactly what the court wanted. She basically told me when it first happened that she needed to get in touch with both attorneys because she wasn't convinced from Chris or myself about the correct time. She says, but in no way would she would consider doing a 3 to 4 hour session with a child in the first visit. She said more along the lines of an hour maybe, if it worked. But I've never ever, first of all, talked to Chris and mentioned Amber in any way. So that's a total untruth.
Doesn't say.
Well, yeah, I said that the mom said that the child was busy. I mean, I don't need to read that. I know what was said. However, I would like to say this here. Chris and I did meet on that Wednesday. You and I spoke on that Tuesday. Chris and I met at McDonald's on that Wednesday. He will tell you it was not an easy visit, and he and I both agreed to allow the child to run and play with the other children, and as the child would come back near us, reach out and try to extend
And
yourself.
this was the Chicken McNugget.
This is the Chicken McNugget evening.
All right.
Chris in no way tried to pressure the child. The only thing he continued to ask for was some high fives. And I finally said to Hayden, I says, give your dad a high five, which he did. When the picture that she's talking about took place with Santa, that was me encouraging Hayden to do that for his dad. He did not want to do it. You know, I want to be real about this here. I love Chris. I love my daughter. I love his family. But we need to stop saying that Chris is saying this, Amber's saying that. This is really about this little 6.5-year-old who's saying that he doesn't want to do this. So by you putting me where you place me at, this child is starting to not trust me. So what happened was on the 17th, I'm moving forward a little bit, on the 17th, I took it upon myself after coming into town, calling Chris, singing him a happy birthday song, and saying, hey, maybe we can get together. I think, we talked, and then he shot me back an email, and then I shot him an email because I got my new iPhone, so I was trying to use it and see how it worked. And he included everyone, of which I stated would be fine. I was totally cool with that. He was going to bring mom, dad, the whole wagon, because they were having a dinner. And it wasn't until I got off the phone, I started talking to the little guy, and I said, Hayden, I said, Raleigh's going to be with Dad and Nana and Papa and his, your uncle and all. And he just freaked out. He did not want to do it. And I said, Hayden, Raleigh's going to be there. He said, Papa, no. So I backed off right away. I picked up the phone. I called Chris. I says, hey, man, I'm sorry. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. His response to what I could hear, he said to everyone, I guess we're turning around and we're going to go back home. It's not happening. And I said, hey, man, I'm really sorry about it. I could barely sleep that night because I felt like I disrupted his perfect birthday dinner that he had going. So I didn't sleep very well. But this is what I feel. And I've been telling Amber's lawyer, I've never told Fran, I told Chris, and he'll tell you that. I think it should be between Amber and Chris. I really do. I think all this thinking that these two can't put this world back together for this child, it's just wrong, because I know he trusts her, and I do believe in my heart that he can find a way to trust his father again. And that's what I want. I mean, but if the court thinks that we need to just keep dragging this thing through all these professionals that are saying he shouldn't, and he should, he shouldn't, and he should, hey, so be it. My hands are tied. But I will tell you this much. I work for a living, and I wasn't lying to you. I've got my schedule in the car. I've got my check stubs. I work a lot of long hours, and I don't get great reception up there on the Hill. Since we talked, I finally got a company phone that will get better reception, but I wasn't trying to give that number out so that people be calling me on my company's number talking about this kind of a situation, because I'm a very private person. However, I don't think it's fair to the Horodeskys that they've not seen their grandchild. I'll be more than happy to get with Sandy. She knows I love her to death, and put her near him. But to be honest with you, since we're putting it out here, the child said he went to his grandmother and told her what his father was doing. And she said, stop with the nonsense. Now, I'm just telling you, and I'm not saying you did. I'm just telling you what he told me. So with that having been said, you know, she'll tell you, and when we've seen him in the past, I've tried to egg him to go on to her, and he's not wanted to. Judge, I don't know why. I agree with you. We need to find out why. But I really do believe that in his heart, he loves Amber Lee. He definitely loves his son. I believe she cares for Chris in her own way. And she's what?
No, I said she might.
No, you said she's crazy.
That's what you said.
She might.
You said she's crazy, but that's okay.
You said she's crazy.
Thank you so much.
But my point is this here. My point is this here. I think Chris Horodesky and Amber Lee Johnson together will put this child back where he needs to be. And I also think if it means Sally and I, which is my lovely wife for 35 years here, and my son and my daughters, because Hayden says he's my son now, but he's not. And the Horodeskys, we don't know each other that well. I know my man here. We've been hanging out, and we embraced, and we love each other. He knows I love him, and he knows I wouldn't lie on him. I think we should be the ones coming together to try to put this child back together. And if you want to order something, order that to take place. And then if that don't work, as much as I would hate to say it, put Hayden somewhere where nobody has him, because that's just going to destroy him as far as I'm concerned. And Chris knows how much I love his son, and he knows how much I want him with his son. But you know, when I have a little 6-year-old telling me something happened, I'm with you. I don't know what happened. Only 3 people know, if you believe. That's Chris, Hayden, and God.
Right.
No one else knows. So to say it's her, it's wrong, because this whole thing, from what I've been hearing, has been about my daughter. And there's no fakeness there. It's been about her. And she would be less than a woman to have not responded to her child saying what he said. This young man over here told me he would have done the same thing. He says, Mr. Johnson, the only thing I would have done different, I'm not going to lie to you, this is what he said. He says, I probably would have gone to my family first, and then we probably would have come to you. He says, but I can't say for certain. He says, but had you guys come and talked to us first, maybe we wouldn't be where we're at today. And I said, you know, Amber's a young lady. She's very independent. You're very independent. You guys are grown. I didn't make that mistake with my family. You know, the Horodeskys did not make it with theirs. These two are the ones that needs to fix this. And I appreciate you allowing me to talk today, because I just feel like, you know, I don't like my life being controlled. And I feel like right now I have no control, because the little dude, I brought him from Sandra's place the other night, and he did not talk to me at all. I said, hey, are you okay, man? He knows that I am making him do something. I don't know why he don't want to do it, but he knows that I am making him do something that he's telling me, Papa, I don't want to do it. But the court is saying we need to do it. And that's why I'm telling Chris, and he knows that I've told him, thank you. I told Chris, I said, you and Amber needs to fix this. Not the courts. And I told this young lady today, I'm not trying to take money from you or from Mrs. Fine.
Trust me, I don't
But bottom line is, you know, these two, he's spending his parents' money and they know it, and she's spending our money. And hey, if we have to keep spending it, we have to keep spending it. But at some point, I'm going to run out. I don't know about these guys. I'm not rich. But I do know that I'm good, and I've never been in trouble. This young lady's never been in trouble. And he'll tell you, I've never once told him to this day that I thought he did anything to my grandson. I did tell him if I thought he and I had made a pact that if anybody ever hurt Hayden, what we thought we would want to do. Not what we would do, but what we thought we would want to do. And I actually stopped the cop after I found out it had happened and offered my weapons to him because I told him I had a dream I hurt my man. He says, do you think he did it? I says, no. I'm not going to lie to you. I says, no. I says, Chris is not that crazy, I don't think, to do that to me. I didn't think about the child. I thought about me, and maybe that was selfish because she'll tell you that I wouldn't talk with anyone about it and has not talked with anybody about it. My mom, my sisters and brothers, my best friends, I've not smeared his name, and I won't smear his name because he's been proven not guilty. So why would I go out there and say, oh, my what would have been son-in-law is a pedophile? I would never do that to him. I wouldn't have hugged him the other night if I thought he was capable. I've been told by all kinds of people, and when I say this here, never mentioning him, I said, this is what's going on with my grandson. They told me, they said, you know what? It happens. You need to believe it happens. This thing went to CPS. They actually said to me, the lady called my house one day. She called there and she said to me, what's that lady's name, the first one? Chalet. She says, would you like to talk about it? I said, talk about what? She says, about the case. I says, I just need to know, do you think Chris did it? She says, honey, he did. I says, are you sure? She says, yes. She says, would you like to hear about it? I started crying. I says, no. And I hung up. And I'm not going to lie to you. She said it, but I still didn't believe it. And I'm not going to lie to you. I don't believe he did it. But I got a child saying he did. So that's all I can go on. And I do have a doctor's appointment.
So you're going to get out the door right now?
No, but I do have
Johnson,
one.
I want to thank you for
Thank you.
Your wisdom and your desire that we get through this for the sake of hate. Because that's what we're all here for. And the courtroom is a rather imprecise mechanism of doing it. We have a tendency to resolve things with cleavers rather than with surgical stitches. And I think you're suggesting more of a surgical stitch response. Miss Fine, I don't know if you all want to, if you have time to talk as families to see if you can come to some mutual agreement to provide an environment that's going to be safe for Hayden. Because on the one hand, he's got to overcome his reluctance to see his dad.
He has to.
On the other hand, just ordering him to do so is not going to facilitate any long-term
Loving relationship.
feelings that we hope to foster with his dad.
I have no problem meeting with them. I think that, but before I even waste anyone's time, I might want to make a suggestion and see if it's something that is even worth it. And that would be to share Hayden, not Chris, but his brother and sister-in-law, and Earl and his wife, along with Amber, until we can, and there would never be any unsupervised visits with Chris. It would always be supervised. He'd never spend the night. I would have no problem with that. If we could work something out like that, and they could work on their relationships, and everybody would have some normalcy, and they could spend part of Christmas together and come back, and see what's going on, that would be worthwhile talking about. But if they're going to say, you can have 3 hours here or an hour there, I need your order. We're more than happy. My clients came to me and said, what can we do? We haven't seen our grandson. We haven't seen our nephew. My daughter, Riley, the little girl that we're talking about, they were best friends. They did everything together. Riley's the one that's equally as hurt because she's missing her buddy, just like Earl's missing his man. They're buddies. This is really sad. And the worst part is the only reason this is happening is because my client isn't in love with Amber. That's what this is about. He might love her as the mother of the child, but he doesn't want to be with her. And I think that might be where the problem is, and everyone has to understand that. Now, if that's not true, but that's what Earl said,
I don't even go there.
but that's what I heard from Earl saying. They love each other, and they may love each other as Hayden's mommy and daddy, but they don't have that romantic love anymore. And I just am concerned.
Actually, I didn't hear Mr. Johnson say that.
I did.
Mr. Johnson said that the bottom line is that these two people have to work with Hayden.
Right.
They have to convince. Your concern is that the mom is not willing to do that and is poisoning the relationship.
No.
Her concern is the dad, in spite of there being no charges filed and no findings in a court of law being made, the dad sexually abused Hayden. From their own individual perspective, there's nothing we can do to change that.
Understand.
That's why I've ordered the evaluations to determine if he has reason to worry about her and to determine if she has reason to worry about him. And if we can take those issues off the table, then we can get back to focusing about Hayden establishing a relationship with both.
And so,
Can I just say one thing and then I'm going to leave?
Yeah.
She called me last night because I thought I had an appointment with Hayden last night with Sandra, Open Arms. I thought I did, but I found out that I didn't because it was never confirmed by either party, okay? So she called me last night. She says, Dad, you got to do something. I says, Amber, I says, can't we just wait till Wednesday then? I says, I've already upset his birthday. I said, I don't want to disappoint him again with Hayden not going. I says, why don't you do this? Why don't you go take him? And she did. She said, I'm gonna do that. Well, then she called my brother and she says, will you go with me? Her brother, my son. And he said he couldn't do it because he had other engagements. So it's kind of like, can Orion do it? Can Earl do it? Can Sally do it? Can they do it? Chris, let me ask you, if you don't mind. Would you really like to try to do it with your son and Amber?
I'd like to get the relationship with my son back to normal. That is,
Do you think it's possible through you and Amber if the court's, ordering you guys to do such? I mean, if you need your mom or your dad there or me and Sally there when we're all together, I'd rather do it as a group if we can do it.
I'd like to do that as a group as well.
me too.
I mean, I just...
All right,
Such a unique
this is
situation.
I'm going to order that the
Spend Christmas together. How's that?
Well, we're going to be up at Mount Charleston.
yeah, we're going to be here for. I'm going to order that the Wednesday and Sunday visitations through Open Arms occur, and that if those have to be tweaked to a different day because of Open Arms scheduling, that's fine. In terms of the length of the visitations, and that's dependent. That decision is to be made by Open Arms, not the parties, as to the change of those dates. But it's going to be twice a week, and it's going to be staggered, so it's not consecutive days. If Open Arms has to change the specific days, that's fine. Open Arms is probably right. 4 hours first sitting isn't going to work. So I will leave it to them to graduate it so that by 2 to 3 weeks out, it's at 4 hours. Now, if the parties can agree that in lieu of that, you're going to come up with some other plan to get Hayden reestablished with his father and his father's side of the family, that's fine. But if that doesn't happen, Open Arms is it. Now, Ms. Fine, you talked about Riley. That's Hayden's cousin.
Little girl.
My suggestion is that you utilize Riley to try to entice this child back to the relationship.
So that she can come to Open Arms?
Yeah, if Riley needs to go to Open Arms to get Hayden in the room, that's fine.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
The rules are that you can't have a relative that is not a non-sibling. So that's what Sandra said. She says you can bring brother, but you can't bring brother and cousins or anything like that. It's strictly about reuniting families.
How about if we meet in the hallway for a minute, or how about if you go take a break and let us try to talk
I'm
about
going
it?
to take a break. I've got closing argument in a case if you guys want to try to come up with some plan.
Give us 5 minutes, let us see if we can come up with something.
We're probably going to give you 10.
Yeah, the problem is, I think the facilitator is getting ready to go.
Right, Earl has to leave.
Well, I'm
I mean,
already
we
late.
can
I'll
do,
have to call them and tell them.
they can, Riley can do McDonald's, right?
Yeah, of course we can do McDonald's.
Okay, so, and maybe we can make it part of the order that you know, add the extra, the extra Riley visitation in there as an order, at least once in the next couple of weeks. I know it's really,
Quite frankly, I don't want to get a legal order bogged down into personalities. That's why I want to give parties the opportunity
Let's try to work out some
solve
Christmas.
this, quite frankly. And if it takes a trail of honey or sugar to get the kid to follow it into a room.
I just want specifics because I don't want there to be any confusion.
I just, quite frankly, am really not enamored with a child this young making a decision that's going to impact him for the rest of his life, unless there's a good reason to do so. And I'm not going to know if there is a good reason until I get the evaluations.
Cool. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to go out in the hallway with Earl for 5 minutes and with Mr. and Mrs. Horodesky, just and Leslie and me, not Chris and not Amber, and see if we can work out a Christmas dinner pot or something.
What about them and not you and me?
How about them and not you and me? That's fine.
Would that be okay?
Why don't they go and try to work out it?
How about 5 o'clock? So if you guys want to try to work something out, come back in, tell me you got something.
No, I think that what we want to do is keep your order, but I think we want to
Yeah,
get
my
something.
order is kind of the minimum.
No, but I want to get whatever they do for Christmas on the record so that we know what we can do. That's what I'd like.
Sandy.
We're going to be in recess for about 10 minutes. Let Mr.
Mr. Zernick, can you get your
Go.
counterpart and get everybody in here?
I can do whatever you want.
Okay. We're going to take a 10-minute recess, and when we come back.